2, 1.
The time is 7:32. I call the April 16th working session of Yardley Borough Council to order. Please stand for the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please, Manager Johnson.
Ms. Thompson? Mr. Carlson?
Present.
Mr. Scherer? Ms. Scherer? Mr. Feiner? Ms. Siegel-Morris? Mr. Stump?
Present.
And Mr. Applebaum.
I am here, present.
With 6 members present, we have a quorum. Community announcements. Does any member of council or the mayor have any announcements of upcoming events in the community?
We do.
Start with Michelle.
Afton is having their spring cleanup day this coming Saturday on April 20th from 8 a.m. to 12 noon. Come on out and help us get the lake all prepped for the summer and spring, well, spring and summer. And we do need some volunteer, or a couple maybe, to get in a boat to go around the lake and pull branches out and get whatever trash you can reach, maybe with a rake from Starbucks, because a lot ends up in that little area there.
And you have the boats, or you're looking for people
I have
in
a boat.
boats?
They can
You have
use my
boats.
boat.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
I don't get in boats, so I need volunteers.
That's fair.
If I get
Thank
in,
you.
I'll never get out.
That sounds like fun and a good cause. Mayor Harding.
Just real quick, May 1st, carry the load. Just a reminder, we'll be stepping off from Washington Crossing at 2 p.m. We should walk and arrive in Yardley about 3:15, have a little celebration, and then see them off. So please.
How are we doing on sponsors?
We were getting ready to start requesting sponsors. So,
Great.
Yep, we're there.
All 5 spots open?
It is.
Get in fast.
It's all done in my head. We just have to put it to action.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other community announcements from up front first?
I'm going to wait till well, we don't have reports. All right, actually, I'm going to bring it up during Public Works.
We do have update on Spearhead on the agenda. Is that what it was about?
Yes, it is.
Great, perfect. Any community announcements from the public about upcoming events? Okay, now we will move on to public comment. This is the portion where members of the public can address items that are not on the agenda. Please come forward and state your name and address, and keep your remarks to 3 minutes per topic. Any public comment this evening?
If it's on the agenda, related to the agenda items, we'll do it at that time.
Yes. Is it a consent agenda item that? So we will pull N off of the consent agenda, and then that'll leave us more space to talk. We always let people talk about the consent agenda, but pulling that item out separately will just give us more opportunity to do that. So, any other public comment this evening? Hearing none, we will move on to consideration of the consent agenda dated April 16th, which includes many items: approval of the minutes dated April 2nd, event permit for Yardley Friends Market on 9/7 with rain date 9/14 at the Friends Meeting House, event permit Carry the Load 5/1 Monument East Afton and Delaware Ave, banner permit for Beer and Wine Fest. What are the dates on that?
Beer and Wine Fest is in October. I think the dates are probably 2 weeks before.
Okay,
I
I
want
know
to say
it's
it's
in the
October 19th, so it'll be 2 weeks before that.
Thank you. Appointment to the Parks and Recreation Board, term ending 12/31/26, Kevin Elvey. Resolution 24-03, tax collector fees. Resolution 24-04, designated signers for MTF Phase 3 Sidewalk Project. FEMA funded 93 North Delaware Ave elevation payment certificate number 1. FEMA funded 81 North Delaware elevation payment certificate number 7. FEMA funded 25 North Delaware elevation payment certificate number 5. Consideration of FEMA funded 93 North Delaware Ave elevation change order number 1. Consideration of FEMA-funded 93 North Delaware Ave elevation change order number 2. Consideration of FEMA-funded 81 North Delaware elevation change order number 6. We will remove consideration of FEMA-funded 112 to 114 Morgan Avenue bid, and we'll discuss that separately. B. Bergville 2023 single audit proposal. Beyond item N, does any member of council wish to remove another item from the consent agenda? Hearing no request, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda without item N.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Motion was made by Councilperson Scherer, seconded by Councilperson Siegel Morris. Any discussion or questions on any items on the consent agenda?
I would just like to personally thank Kevin Elvey, Casey's watching from home, for applying for the Parks and Rec opening. I'm very excited for him to start.
Excellent, thank you. Any other questions?
Well, you stole my thunder because that was what I was going to say. I've known Kevin for a while. He's extremely, oh gosh, we're talking about you. What a nice guy. He's very dedicated to the community and community events. And if he wasn't able to get any references, I was going to say, you can have one from me. So there he is.
Well, thank you, Kevin, for applying, and thank you to the Community Outreach Committee for vetting him and providing him his application for the consent agenda this evening. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously 6-0. Do I, welcome. Do I hear a motion to approve FEMA-funded 112 to 114 Morgan Avenue bid to reject and rebid? That's worded oddly. So we are voting to reject the bid we received and to rebid it. Do I hear a motion to that effect? So moved. Is there a second? We'll discuss
can't.
before we vote. Yep. Is there a second? Motion was made by Councilperson Siegel Morris, seconded by Councilperson Scherer. Discussion first from council on this item. Maybe we could get some background on this one. Anybody?
So this bid came in over budget, so what we're trying to do is get a lower price by putting out to bid again. So we'll put it out to bid immediately in order to get this project moving, so.
So with the elevation projects, we only have a certain amount of monies in the grant, and when they come over budget, we're not able to fully fund them with the grant monies that we have, or we're not able to do as many projects as we had wanted to with the grant monies. So when we rebid, we hopefully are able to squeeze all of the projects we anticipated out of the awarded amount. And any other comments or questions from up here before I open it up? Sir, if you could come forward and state your name and address? Yes, please.
Good evening. My name is Brian Garlitz. I represent the owners of the property. My parents, Edward and Susan Garlitz. Pertaining to this project, I know it's
Brian, speak into the microphone.
been worked on, been in the works for quite a while.
Slide that mic in
Pull
front of you.
pull it over. There you go.
It's been in the works for quite a while. It went out to bid last year. A little background, it went out to bid last year. Apparently, it came in over budget, or there wasn't enough money in the budget to do it. So I believe, maybe you could speak to this, Paula, because you've been on the emails, that a request was made with FEMA for an increase in that grant. I want to say that was $1 million increase.
Within the grant for all the houses, it wasn't just for your project.
So the additional money that FEMA gave was $1 million.
I don't know if it's exactly $1 million, but we did get an increase.
Okay. Do you know what the original budget for that property was?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Does anybody on council know what the original budget was for that? Anybody know why we're putting it back out to bid if we don't know the budget?
Susan takes care of all that. She is our floodplain manager, as you know, because you've been working with her for many years. She watches that budget like there's no tomorrow. It's getting to the point where if we don't get some of these bids down, then houses at the end are not going to be getting elevated. Therefore, we put it out to bid again, and we usually get a lower price.
Okay, the second bid, the bid that is now overpriced. How much lower was that bid than the original bid last year? Do we know that?
I don't have those numbers in front of me.
Okay, I know those numbers. Those numbers are about $50,000. So in a period of rising prices, which we all know we're in, and the reason why we went out for more money from FEMA to get more money for that grant, the bid came in $50,000 less than the original bid. So my question is, how much lower can it possibly go? We've been doing this now for 3 years, been working on it. Why do we keep going back out for bid? Nobody seems to know any numbers. Nobody wants to give the homeowner any numbers.
You sound frustrated, and I'd
Yes.
like to just get to the bottom of what you're looking for. So you would like to see the bid numbers? Is that?
Oh, I know the bid numbers.
Okay, so you would like to know what the budget for your house was?
Yeah, I would love to know that number.
And have you asked Susan and Paula for that number
have.
prior to tonight?
And I don't-
What was the response?
No response.
No response. Well, I am happy to do that digging for you. What is your email?
Sure. It's B as in Brian, last name Garlitz, GARLIT as in Tom, S as in Sam, at storageprinting.com.
So your argument is that the bids are within the budget for your property, or you don't know?
I'm not sure. It seems like we've been going around here. It went back out to bid. The bid came in 50,000 less than last year's bid, which is about 15 to 20%. Not sure why we're going back out for bid again. Is it because of the price? Is it because of the contractor? I'm just short on information. Not sure why. It seems like, okay, the bid came in $50,000 less than last year. We got $1 million increase, give or take. Not sure that number. Nobody can give me that number. I haven't been given that number. I don't know. Is this a right to know request? Do we have to provide a right to know request to get a copy of all the documents? Seems like a lot.
So technically, to release a large amount of documents, typically a right to know is the best way to do that so that we can track our staff's time that's being spent to recover the records. I think big picture here in talking to Susan about these projects, they're coming in anywhere from 20 to 50% over the pool of monies, right? And so the only option we have when every property comes in over budget is to drop a property off the program, and we don't want to do that. And so by rebidding, we're trying to maintain the number of properties that are in the current package. And
Well, we
I think
get
that's
that.
what's at play here, even with the additional monies. I don't have exact figures. I have a lot of emails in front of me that I can sift through. I do know what the bids were here, and an email from our engineer that they're over the threshold that we were targeting. And I can
What
get,
was that you're targeting? What's the number we're targeting?
it doesn't say in the email.
Doesn't say that.
But it's over the amount of money that we have. We don't have this much money for your property.
Now, I know as part of that grant, there were a number of properties on that grant. I want to say maybe 9 to 11. I know there may have been some fluctuation there. If all of those properties came in over the original budgeted amount, did all those properties also have to get rebid?
A lot did have to get
I think
rebid.
we've rebid every single one, but maybe one.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, how did we run out of money then and have to go back to FEMA?
Because the bids are coming in so high. Cost of building is, as you know, double.
That was fodder for our argument, right? When we can go to them and we say, we didn't bid it once, we didn't bid it twice, we rebid 3 times in some cases, and it's still over budget. So clearly you're not providing enough money to complete the work. You need to give us more. And so that was, the basis for that argument that they made. That's actually good for us when we can show that. Obviously, it takes forever, but that's
Right.
one
And
of
I
the
think that's
reasons why
kind of
we were
where
able to
we're-
get more monies.
That's part of it. It's like, okay, we're going through this.
You want to get it done.
want to get it done.
Yep.
I want to get it done, or I want to move on. It's like a hanging over our head, right? I mean, it's hanging over, in this case, we have tenants that live in these properties. They have uncertainty. It's not fair to them. Hey, where am I going to live? When's this happening? Just, it seems like we're going through the same motions over and over again. I'm not sure what the budget is. I'm not sure what's left in the budget. I have no concrete figures on anything other than what the bids are. I don't know how much we have. I don't know what the budget is. What number are we targeting? I don't know if it's even, if it's public, if it's a, public bid, should we even know what a budget is?
Right, that's why you don't know what the budget is.
You bid on it as well, right?
Because when you go to rebid it, you don't want all the bidders to know what you
have to spend.
what you have to be at, because you'll never get anybody under it.
Okay. But if somebody
That's
tells
a
me,
conscious reason.
if somebody told me then what the bid number needs to be, would that be a violation of the way this is done?
I
If
would-
somebody said, your number has to be this.
Could I ask you a question?
Sure.
Did Paul, were you a bidder on on one of the, were you a bidder?
One of our companies was, in an
Okay.
effort to try to get the bid down.
Okay, just, I want to make sure I heard that right, so
Okay.
just clarifying.
Yeah, so all of the materials, and I'm looking through all the past ones we voted on, have, it seems on, by design, not included the budgeted amount, and to Don's point, that's probably why during a public meeting, it goes in the minutes. We don't want the contractors to know what we have to spend. It's like when someone comes to your house and say like, I want to get my kitchen redone. Well, much do you have to spend? I'm not going to answer that question, right? I want you to give me your
Well,
lowest and
if
best.
Susan told me, this is what you need to be on your price, she can tell me that that's the price, right? I mean, is she telling all the contractors where they need to be on the price?
No.
I don't think so.
Okay. So, I mean, I understand. Like, so if I got an email from her saying, I told you where you need to be on price, and I'm looking at my numbers as a bidder, my company bidding on this, and I'm like, there's no way we can get that number. I give my bid, it's the number, because that's what's substantiated by the market and the cost of materials and everything. It just seems like something's not right. You understand? Like, I have an email from Susan that says, I told you where you have to be on your number, which she did in a conversation with me. Okay, didn't think too much of it, but now are we going back to all the contractors and telling them then? And that's why? So I'm just trying to understand like how this whole process works. I understand what you're saying, makes a lot of sense. This is a public bid to the highest bidder.
And the only reason I say that is because I asked the same question you asked one of the other times when we were doing a rebid, because it costs money to rebid.
Not everything.
Like, we're on our
Engineers
third
touch-
rebid.
every time the engineer touches
And-
something,
And I
it costs
innocently
money. I get
said,
it.
how far off are we from where we need to be? Like, is it worth doing a 3 rebid? And
I mean, I know what the costs are. I mean, I did all the process, right? Now, maybe my number's a little bit higher or a little bit lower, but, the bid that came in this last time was $50,000 less. There were 4 bids that came in. 1 low, 2 right next to each other, and then 1 high. It seems kind of strange that the one bid was so low after he bid it last year. Okay, now we're going back out again. And I'm repeating myself, but like, it just seems kind of like, what are we doing? Like, how many times are we going to go through this?
This is off topic a bit, but we had a lengthy conversation with a homeowner that did elevate her home about her frustrations with the process. Some of it has to do with the budget and how long it takes to find a bidder that can do it within the budget. Some of it had to do with how long the actual process of elevating and getting back into your home, and it all just opened up Manager Johnson and my eyes more to the need for kind of like how to guide documents before a homeowner goes into this process. Like, this is really what you need to expect. This is not going to be a 6-month open and closed thing.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, and so I think if you had kind of like a step-by-step process that we could hand you at the beginning, that would be really helpful, and that's something that we're going to be working on with Susan. But at this time, all I can tell you is, to our knowledge, the bids were over, and
Over what? $50,000 less?
we have had success in the past rebidding. We're supposed to be good stewards of the grant monies and not be wasteful. In some cases, they've come in below. I believe, like we get, when they're submitted, it says this is below the budget. And then we can vote on that and we know we're not spending up to the ceiling of our budget. So that would be nice if we could do that. And that's again why we don't, I think, release the exact number. So I realize that that's not what you're looking for tonight.
I'm just trying to make sure everything's above board here on the way this is getting done. That's what I'm really after, making sure everybody's doing whatever, because as the homeowner, I'm getting no information. Forget the budget.
I shouldn't ask
The
this.
copy
No,
of the,
sure,
a copy of
but
the,
what
a
could
copy
be-
of the FEMA grant.
I take
How about that? Start with the copy of the
take
FEMA
issue
grant.
with saying, are things above board, when I want to push that back and say, what could be not above board about trying to do the project for less money, right?
No, that makes sense, but when somebody says, I told you where you need to be, and I can't get there, like, that to me seems like she's telling the contractors where they need to be. Like, that doesn't,
And that's a conversation I can have with Susan. I don't have that recorded somewhere. I'm taking your word for it
Sure.
tonight. I would have to have a conversation with her
Okay.
about that. This is the first time I'm hearing about that.
now, with respect to, and I don't want to drag this on, as the bidder on the property, okay, if that bid is now thrown out, the bid security that we put up, at what point do we expect that back?
You gave that to Patty?
Yeah, I gave it to somebody downstairs.
Okay, well, then we could go right back to you. It hasn't gone anywhere.
Okay, so, well, I just didn't know what the procedurally,
Probably
what,
sitting in a drawer downstairs locked up.
okay, all right.
All right, so I'm hearing a couple questions. When will the bid security be released, and what's the budget if we can release it? So I have your email.
And a copy of I'd love to see a copy of the actual FEMA grant.
Okay. I have your email. I'll look into what I can legally release and what might be an issue, what we might need to redact, and I can talk through that with you.
Fair enough.
Thank you for being here this evening.
Oh, thank you for your time. Appreciate everybody's service to the community. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Any other questions or comments on item N this evening? Hearing none, I will call the question. So again, the vote on the table is to reject and rebid 112 to 114 Morgan Avenue. Is any further discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
I will abstain. I'm not sure if I need to, but I might have a potential conflict of interest because one of your tenants is an immediate family member of mine. And so, Richard John. So he's my brother-in-law. So I consider that an immediate family member. So I don't know if that's necessary, but just to make sure we stay above board on things, I'm going to abstain.
Thank you, Jared. Motion carries 501. All right, before you, you have the finance report dated April 16th, 2024. Any issues with the finance report? Otherwise, it will be accepted by consensus. Moving into our working session, first item is public safety. Chief Kelly, please.
And consent agenda. Just say consent agenda.
So we're here in response to some questions raised in February on how to add or modify traffic controls within the borough. We can go to slide 2, please. We posed a number of questions to our solicitor. The first question was, are engineering and traffic studies and accident data required to install new traffic control and/or traffic calming devices? And the solicitor's answer was unequivocally yes. Mr. Griffin provided a long explanation to each one of these, which I can share with anyone who wants them, but I think the important takeaways are in these questions themselves. The second question was, are engineering and traffic studies and accident data required to modify traffic control and/or traffic calming devices? And the answer was again, yes. And these are based on the federal uniform traffic device manual and also PennDOT regulations and also some Pennsylvania state laws that all overlap and kind of mimic each other. Question 3, Are engineering and traffic studies a requirement for the installation of traffic control devices on state highways, local highways, or both? And the answer is yes for both, because we always have the question coming back up, well, if we take control of South Main Street, or if we take control of Afton Avenue, surely that will give us more flexibility in how we regulate traffic control devices, and it appears that's not true. Whether the road is owned by the Borough of Yardley or it's owned by the state of Pennsylvania, we have to follow pretty much a very similar procedure in both cases. Are traffic control and/or traffic calming devices exempt from engineering and traffic study and accident data requirements? And generally speaking, that's no. There's no traffic control device which is exempt from one of these studies. And the last question we posed was, does PennDOT publish the accident data or traffic volume information that would be sufficient for them to tell us in advance, before we spend any money, whether or not it would receive approval? And the short answer to that was no. We can move on to the next slide, please. So what is a traffic control device? And our solicitor came back and advised us, from data mining all of these different laws and regulations, that it's all signs, signals, markings, channelizations, devices, and other devices that use colors, shapes, symbols, words, sounds, and/or tactical information for the primary purpose of communicating a regulatory, a warning, or a guidance message to road users on any highway. And that's from the United States Department of Transportation, Federal Highway Administration. Next slide, please. So per that manual on uniform traffic control devices, minor modifications in the specific design elements of any traffic control device may be made based on an engineering study, provided the essential appearance characteristics are preserved. So even when we're making minor modifications, one of these traffic studies are needed. And I'll get to what that is exactly. Aspects of the traffic design of a traffic control device should not be modified unless there's a demonstrated need in unusual circumstances based on engineering studies or engineering judgment. The Commonwealth guidance documents require a traffic engineering study to justify the need for a traffic signal or traffic signal modification. And this bullet's kind of important, the second to last. Traffic signals located in the borough are owned, operated, and maintained by the borough. Regardless, a traffic signal must be first presented by the borough to PennDOT before any new signal may be installed, identifying such elements as traffic volume, accident history, speed data, sight distance, vehicular movements, and intersection geometry. That's what that study focuses on. Traffic calming devices, including traffic circles and speed bumps, etc., may only be installed after an engineering study has been conducted. Moreover, traffic calming devices may not be installed without a municipality first soliciting a significant public engagement, being neighborhood surveys, open houses, meetings, etc. So that's a lot of the bad news I got out of the way. Here's some of the good news. Next slide, please. Letchworth Avenue was the street in question that sparked this question and opened up our research on this issue. I ran numbers from April 15th, 2014 to April 15th, 2024. So this encompasses a 10-year period. As you can see, borough-wide, we had 776 motor vehicle accidents in that time period, which averages about 77 a year. Of those, 112 are reportable. So what a reportable accident is, in a reportable accident, one of two things occurs. Either someone is injured or the vehicle is damaged so badly that it needs to be towed away from the scene. So 112 times out of that 776, one of those two things happened. The good news is 664 of those accidents were non-reportable, which is the overwhelming majority. 664, or 66 a year, drove away from the scene, leaving only 11 that either involved an injury or a tow. So if you're a tow vendor, you're not making a lot of money here in Yardley Borough. In that time, we had 45 motor vehicle accidents that had an injury, at least one injury involved. That comes out to only 4.5 accidents a year that involve any injury at all. And most of the times, those are on the low end. We had 2 fatalities in that time period, which equates to 1 every 5 years. In those 2 fatalities, because I was here for both of them. One of them was a vehicle driven overnight by a one operator car that hit a tree at a high rate of speed who was under mental duress. And the second one involved a motorcycle at the intersection of South Delaware and Letchworth. We had 5 incidents in a 10-year period involving pedestrian. 4 in 2015. I'm sorry, three in 2015, 1 in 18, 1 in 22, and 1 in 23. And the 1 in 23 is the one we spoke about a number of times on Afton Avenue. So that equates into 1 pedestrian incident in this largely pedestrian traveled town once every 2 years. If we look at Letchworth, which is the catalyst, and we wanted to make a decision, when I say we, I mean all of you, because you're the decision-making body, as to whether or not to spend several thousands of dollars on a traffic engineering study, which has no guarantees of granting us any type of traffic control modifications. We had a total of 16 accidents in 10 years. That represents 2% of all the accidents in a 1 square mile borough. Of those, only 6 were mid-block. 5 of those were non-reportable and 1 was reportable. And mid-block is really the concern that was raised. The other ones occurred at the intersections. Most of those intersection accidents occurred either at Main Street in Letchworth or at Delaware in Letchworth. Of those, 7 were non-reportable, 3 were reportable, and 2 had injuries. And 1 involved a fatality, a loss of a man, which I already referenced on the left side. That was a motorcycle versus motor vehicle. So I show you that just so you're informed when you make your decisions going forward, that I think when it comes to the accident data alone, it's going to be a tough hurdle to pass. Now, volume may benefit us on some streets if we do an engineering study, but when we talk about accident data, in the grand scheme of our neighbors and other municipalities in this state, this data is not going to rank very high. There's a record of traffic safety here. Next slide, please. So the questions for you to consider are, and things to take away, are traffic engineering studies are costly, and this one's from our solicitor. Well, obtaining a municipal traffic engineering certification, which is another route we can go. We can apply to get a municipal traffic engineering certified person here and do some of our own analysis, but that doesn't alleviate all of our PennDOT regulations. We still have to satisfy some of those things. When considering a new or modified traffic control and or traffic calming device, a decision should be made by council based on known facts and some type of likelihood of a PennDOT approval, because we do have to spend money without any guarantees. Andrew also said that the borough should be meticulous when scrutinizing the possibilities for both the type and location of traffic control and traffic calming devices. Each one triggers different requirements per the Uniform Traffic Control Document, the Vehicle Code, and other associated guidance documents. And the borough may seek to optimize accomplishing its traffic management goals without triggering the most challenging demands, meaning what device will they put in what location. So that's basically what we uncovered in looking at this further, is that we don't have a lot of autonomy as a borough here. Anything we do, we have to clear with PennDOT, and only via a traffic engineering study.
Thank you, Chief. I know that police departments are required to keep data like this, but it's awesome to see it there and organized in that way for us. I think I've talked to Manager Johnson about a process document so that if somebody wants a stop sign on their street, they can go online and download, like, here are the steps. And I would love to call what you just did here, like, a pre-traffic study. An in-house traffic study, and then if we get through the pre-study, which we've just done, and we find that, like, chances of success of getting approval when we do the full study is higher than 50%, maybe we spend the several $1,000s. If it's under, which it sounds like it is in this case, that's probably not a good use of funds, but I think this is exactly the information we need to make an informed decision, and also to develop that process document. Like, it doesn't need to be long. It sounds like it's...
No, I think we can come out with a form. I was thinking the same, I'm on the same path. We come out with a form of the request. Next place it goes is me. I'll give you all the crash data, and then we come back here and make a decision after, maybe one more, with a brief consultation, maybe with the engineer on volume.
Love that. And I imagine if there's a substantive change to the street that might shift things a little bit, but I'm not thinking of any on Letchworth that would impact, like, would make the historical data no longer relevant if there was,
Correct.
you know, a new parking lot put in or a new opening on somebody's driveway or something where traffic's changing flows. But that's not at play here. Awesome. This is great. Any other questions or comments on this?
Yes?
Great.
Comment. First of all, fantastic, really appreciate it. It makes it easy for me to understand. And my comment is from the perspective as a resident and knowing that this pretty much eliminates the possibility that we may do some traffic calming steps just because of that data. But what I want to say as a resident is that it concerns me when I'm out, or even in front of my house, the Breeze Drive Raceway, is that it scares me that people I perceive are driving carelessly, recklessly, or speeding. I said I'm observing, not with fact, but with, well, recklessly, I think I can say yes. But the speed, that does not play at all into this, is what I'm understanding. So things that are observed that are not part of this data, collecting this data, and, I call it ethnographic, but, there are things that happen that you observe that as a homeowner, I become very concerned. So I'm not asking to do anything, I'm just stating that it worries me when I see people that I perceive as driving reckless or are speeding.
Let me start by saying we will never get every traffic violation that's out there. You will perceive and see more than we ever get. But I can say definitively, if not for the hard work of the men and women of the Yardley Borough Police Department with their vigorous traffic enforcement, those numbers, there is a cause and effect. Those numbers would look much different.
And I accept that, and I appreciate it. And again, my point was only to give my opinion of those situations where maybe I have eyes where someone else has and you may not. And that's the time that so again, this is not a criticism at all. I just want to state my
And
point.
we have deployed traffic calming measures recently on Breeze, right? With the speed tables, because of excessive speed was happening there. And was that process the same as outlined here, or was it different for that street, Chief?
I don't recall what exactly, I think that was the previous borough manager, right? Yeah, so I'm not sure how we reached that.
That's where my question comes from, because on one of the earlier slides, this interpretation of calming devices is basically anything that you can put up.
Basically, yeah,
you know?
really. It's a
really
very broad definition.
very broad. So, for instance, even at the corner of Wayfaring and North Main right now, you have your speed is right now 37 miles per hour or something, okay? So I would interpret that as a traffic calming device. It's words, it's a signal, it's a visual, and you know what I mean? Or when we had the flags to cross in front of the Historical Society, or any of the plastic things in the middle of the crosswalks to try to slow people down. Are we really expect to do detailed traffic studies to do that? That's what that would say.
If you
Or are there
follow the
tiers?
letter of the law, but I think that we would be safe on a lot of these practices by saying they're longstanding, they're historical, and they occur in every borough in this Commonwealth. So, I mean, we would rely on that, yeah. They're movable, they're not permanent. I think that's one of the things that we would help. The ones in Mill Street are not permanent.
That's true.
The speed sign's not permanent, so
Yeah,
I think we would be okay.
that's kind of gray.
I agree with you.
Well, again, thank you.
Non-permanents.
Chief, could I ask one question, just for understanding? First of all, thanks for this. Could you go back one slide? Just for a definition that I think is important to clarify. Sure. On the left-hand column, third number down, 664 non-reportable. That doesn't have anything to do with whether the police were on the scene or not.
Great question. So where that comes from, because it can be confusing, all 776, the 664 plus the 112, were investigated by this police department. The reason they're known as non-reportable is because if they don't have a injury and they don't have a tow, we're not required to report that accident past us to PennDOT. If one of those two things does occur, we not only fill out a Yardley Borough Police accident report, but we have to fill out a state accident report online. That's where that reportable term comes in. But they're all reported to us.
Thank you, just want to clarify that.
And I would say that this data shows that Yardley, whether you're a driver or a pedestrian, is largely safe.
I mean, it's 10 years, that's a long
Yeah.
period of time, yeah.
That's an excellent report right there.
Any other questions?
No, I think we're all on the same page that some sort of that former process would be great. We should probably look at this on a routine basis to just see if any, I know you probably already do, but as a council, any problem areas pop up. But yeah, great, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Chief.
So our next item is Public Works. Mr. Finer unfortunately had a family emergency this evening. We're, I think, going to postpone his Mary Yardley Pico lot slides until our next meeting because he put a lot of time into those. But I'd like to give Mr. Applebaum the opportunity to talk on item C, if you
Yes,
would like.
thank you very much. I hesitated earlier to talk about events because, well, let me start off by saying, if you haven't been down to the corner of Afton and River Road and seen the great work that the volunteers of Spearhead Project Earth have done, you really should, because it looks so much nicer, cleaner. There is still debris. There's still tree work to be done. I understand from the project manager that the money that was allocated for tree trimming, pruning, whatever the proper terminology is, actually did not just include the one tree that we were concerned about, but also two other large trees immediately adjacent to that other tree. So I'm thrilled at that. The plantings went well, and we're waiting for additional mulch to go on the plantings that are have been placed there. Talking to Jared, the project manager, I raised some concerns, particularly regarding the event that they have gotten approval for, and we had a discussion this afternoon, and myself and Ori Viner proposed an idea to make that celebratory event much more meaningful by delaying it. And he was agreeable to that. So at this point, they are not going to be doing a celebratory event on the 21st. We felt, and he agreed, that the value of waiting would increase the ability for all parties to make sure that all the plantings look good, that all the cleanup is completed, that all the trees have been trimmed, and also to, from a practical standpoint, today is the 16th, and not to be critical, I'm just stating a fact. We have, let me say not we, but the organization Spearhead Project Earth has not done a real press release and done what I would consider the right amount of work to invite those people that deservedly need to be invited. For instance, Delaware River Greenway Project, who came to me and said, "Hey, would you like this grant?" Of course, the American Water Charitable Foundation, our representatives, state and Congress, the Borough Council and others, And so I just made that argument to say, would you consider it? He said yes. Now, what I would like to ask is, should he do another permit for that event, or is that something that can be amended? I just want to make sure that I give him the correct information.
Well, event permits need to be voted on by council with the correct dates posted within the agenda, but yeah, you can absolutely resubmit the exact same thing with the date change and mark it amended so that Wes doesn't have to review everything all over again if it's the same thing. And
It'll be
there's no
exactly the same.
conflicts with anything else on the schedule for the day that you wish to have it on. I don't see any issues, but it should definitely go on our agenda for the public to have noticed that it's been updated.
Okay, and I guess the second part would be, with that change and some of the work that they're doing, do they, I just want to make sure that we do this above board and correctly. He may not have volunteers to finish his portion of the work. Obviously, we have, insured, bonded contractors and so forth to do their work. But if he comes with spearhead company folks, can he continue with the cleanup rather than pulling another permit for that? Because it wouldn't be volunteers.
I can't answer that question. I don't know what our liability threshold is in terms of having people on our property. Obviously, all borough property is in one sense public, but due to the nature of what they're doing and the tools they might be using, the risk may be higher to the borough having tools being used. So I don't feel like I'm the right person to answer that question. I am happy to have a call with you and Wes, and we can chat through that. We can set something up for this week.
And again, I'm only bringing it up because I want to make sure that everything is transparent and that it's done the right way.
Yeah.
The third part would only be, we're actually closer to proposing the third phase, which would include the railing, the picnic table, and a trash can. There's been a lot of adjustments made in how that would be done based on the comments from Ms. Mazzatelli. And so I'm going to ask how we're not, again, I keep saying we, what I mean is Spearhead Project Earth should proceed, and what if they should, what kind of permit or what process should they use for that? And I don't know if you know that answer now, or we can pick that up with a conversation between us and Wes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's really my call, so let's have a conversation with Wes about it.
Perfect.
Does that timeline work? Because we're not meeting again until May 7th.
That may have to be, and if that's what it is, that's what we'll do.
Okay, it's only 2 weeks after the current scheduled date, so I assume that's probably within.
And honestly, I feel much better about that delay than to try to rush to get it done for the 21st of April.
Sure. All right, I will send you and Wes an email after the meeting.
Thank you, I appreciate it. That's my report.
Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
So basically, it sounds like you want the more meaningful date, which more meaningful would mean that it would be complete.
Well, yes, all the clutter and the things will be done.
Yeah, so they weren't able to finish it in time. They didn't have enough volunteers, or?
No, let me state for the record that the volunteers worked really hard.
I didn't say they didn't.
No, I know you're not
Like,
saying that,
honestly.
but what I wanted to say is that if he rushed and he was able to finish it this week, then yes, they probably would have completed it. The person would have, picked up the debris and that kind of thing. But all things considered, I still am concerned about making sure that this is advertised well and invites are sent out in a timely fashion so people can have more time to plan for this. That's all. Because I think it will benefit them, us, and the people who gave the grant and worked with us on the grant. And that's it.
Great. Thank you, Justine.
Thank you.
Don't have anything else on my agenda this evening. Are there any other questions or comments from anyone? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? Motion was made by Councilperson Carlson, seconded by Councilperson Scherer. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.